Hello, everybody. Miss Peachy again from your WCA Biology A class. So we are still looking at Unit 5 today. Unit 5, Lesson 10, Energy and Matter Conservation. And as I mentioned to you before, we also have a video kind of guide that goes along with this. So feel free to follow along on that video guide, just kind of the key information as I see it in the lesson. So just continuing along talking about cellular respiration, but also just kind of making sure that you guys are aware of some of the laws of science that really we see holding true within cellular respiration. So as a reminder, this is how we break down the food that we eat into usable form of energy, ATP. So ATP is more of a short-term energy storage molecule. It's smaller and easier for our bodies to use, so we have to break down the food that we eat into that. And as we mentioned before, and this is our general formula, right? It's the opposite of photosynthesis. We have sugar plus oxygen yields water plus carbon dioxide plus energy, which is ATP. So the idea here in this lesson is kind of an understanding of matter and energy, and how matter and energy are conserved in all situations. It's one of the fundamental laws of nature, the law of conservation of matter and energy. Matter being anything that takes up space and has mass. So we're talking about, any of the molecules that we're looking at, whether that's the water molecule or a glucose molecule, all of those are made up of matter. When we look at the law of conservation of matter, this discusses how when you have a chemical reaction, you have to have the same amount of stuff when you start the reaction as you do when you end the reaction. You don't lose matter in the process. So we look at a balanced chemical equation. And in physical science, we actually learned how to balance chemical equations. And the idea here is that you have the same amount of stuff on the left side of the equation as you do on the right side of the equation. The left side are our products or our reactants. I always mix up the words, but I know what I'm talking about. So left side are our reactants. These are the things that are going into the reaction itself, the sugar, the oxygen, and the carbon dioxide, or the sugar and the oxygen here. So when we look at them, we have to compare all the different things that we have. So we start off with 6 carbons in our 6-carbon sugar glucose. That means we have to end up with 6 carbons. So we end up with 6 of these carbon dioxide molecules because there are 6 total carbons here. We start off with these 6 oxygen plus these 12 here. So we need 12 oxygens to end up with. And we have 6 of our O2s here, so that's 6, plus 6 in our H2O, so that is 12. So when we compare the reactants to the products, we will see we have the same number of reactants for every atom on either side compared to the products. So 6 carbons, 12 hydrogens, and 18 oxygens on both sides. The chemical equation has to be balanced because that's what's happening. That's the ingredients that we need. It's not just about doing some math and making it all fancy and perfect looking. It's literally the ingredients that are necessary. What this says is if I have one sugar molecule, I have to combine it with 6 oxygens. And when that happens, they produce 6 carbon dioxides and 6 waters and energy. Okay, and they also generate that ATP. So this is what actually is happening. The chemical formula isn't just about balancing things and figuring out a puzzle. It's a description of what is happening in nature. That's the ingredients and the ratios of each ingredients that are necessary in order to get that reaction to work. The law of conservation of energy is basically the same thing as the law of conservation of matter. Einstein proved that energy and matter are interchangeable, but we put it as kind of a separate law here, even though really we can think of this as the law of conservation of matter and energy. So this is telling us that energy cannot go away. It cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transferred from one form of energy to another. So we can take potential energy of gravity and we can change it into kinetic energy of motion, right? So there's 2 different kinds of energy, but they're both energy. And so we can take that stored potential energy that's found inside a chemical bond, and we can break that bond and we can release heat, which is a different form of energy. You can use that energy to make your muscles move, right? Because that's a different kind of energy, but still, energy is just transformed from one form of energy to another. So that's literally the gist of this lesson, pretty simple and straightforward. Again, don't get hung up necessarily in the details and some of the vocab, but try to understand the overall concepts because that'll get you the furthest. Questions or concerns? Feel free to contact me via webmail or you can message me at extension 2204. Have a great day.